Hello, YouTube, Facebook. This is Mario Stanton, founder of the Black Atheist group on Facebook. And today I'm going to be talking about the reason why atheists talk about the character of Yahweh. So the thing that I've noticed over the years, when you have an argument with theists, is that they would ask, well, if if God doesn't exist, then why is it that you talk about him so much? And you can kind of see in your vision in your mind or whatever that they think that they just won an argument, that they, that is like, checkmate atheists. We just got one on you, because you sit up there and talk about God. You know that God exists because you talk about God. Well, that's very, very faulty logic. We talk about Santa Claus, and we know that Santa Claus doesn't exist. We talk about elves and things of that nature, but we know that they exist. We know that they don't exist. The differences between Santa Claus, elves, and Yahweh in this case, or whatever, or any other type of deity, but in this case, being Yahweh, us living, at least me living in a predominantly Christian country, and Yahweh being the chief God, the chief deity of Christianity or whatever, then that is what they're talking about when they're talking about God. They're not talking about Shiva. They're not talking about Ahura Mazda. They're not talking about any other type of deity or whatever. They're talking about Yahweh. So for the purposes of this video, and just to kind of like have a little bit of continuity there or whatever, what is defined as God with a capital G. We're going to be talking about Yahweh. They're like, just the fact that you bring up the word God or whatever is some sort of proof or whatever that that in our minds or whatever Yahweh actually exists, and that couldn't be furthest from the truth. And basically, I'm gonna say why. The differences between Yahweh and other things, whatever, other mythical creatures, unicorns, elves, giants, stuff like that, is that Yahweh belongs to a religion that, in the words of Peter Griffin, that insists upon itself. Now, some of you might be asking, what does that mean? It insists upon itself. Well, the religion insists upon itself because it is everywhere, and it assumes that everyone believes in it. It assumes that everyone, is a part of it, and if everyone isn't a part of it, then everyone should be a part of it. Everyone should be a part of this faith, because it assumes that it is in of itself the truth. It assumes that everything about it is factual, whatever. Even though it's based on many assumptions or whatever. The assumption that creation must have a conscious and anthropomorphic creator. It assumes all of these things, whatever, and acts as if these assumptions is actual fact. So, the reason why I say this, and my evidence of this or whatever, is just, me, like right now I'm in my house, and, every now and then you get people coming up, ringing my doorbell, knocking on the door or whatever. They'd be dressed to the nine or whatever, carrying all types of reading material and stuff like that. And, they would, basically, what do you call that? evangelize or proselytize about Yahweh. One group in particular, Jehovah Witness. I know Jehovah is their way of saying the name Yahweh or whatever. But I think Yahweh is supposed to be the correct way of saying it. Besides Jehovah, because back in the day there weren't J sounds or whatever, stuff like that. So yeah, Jehovah Witnesses is one such group. The Mormons is another group, and even in my neighborhood, you have the Baptists. The Baptists will come around and knock on doors or whatever, and try to get people to join their churches. There's a story that I like to relate, and it goes like this. One day I was taking my children to the 4th of July parade, the annual 4th of July parade here in St. Louis. And the 4th of July parade here in St. Louis is called the VP parade, the Veiled Prophet parade or whatever. It's basically based off of a group from back in the day, or a guy from back in the day called the Veiled Prophet. And there was a group that basically did like some philanthropy work or whatever, and had parties and stuff like that based on the Veiled Prophet. So that's our annual 4th of July parade. And I like to take my kids to like different things. I like to take them to, different parades, to the museum or something like that. Do a lot of fun activities with the kids. A lot of things that when they grow up, whatever, they would have a lot of fond memories or whatever. Daddy took us here, Daddy took us there. Now, I'm taking them there by myself. My wife was very tired or whatever. She didn't want to wake up, so I took them there by myself. Got myself, got us some snacks, got us some chairs and whatnot. But they're really, really small, and I did not have like a wagon or anything like that. So we had to walk from wherever we parked or whatever to a good spot in the parade route, and it's pretty early. Carrying around 3 small children, plus food, plus seating and stuff like that. It was really, really daunting or whatever. But we finally get there. We set up our spot on the parade route, and we wait there pretty much in the hot sun. And the only thing the thing that we forgot was sunblock, and we forgot umbrellas, whatever, to shade ourselves from the sun. Which is kind of ironic because we were kind of under tall buildings and we still couldn't find any shade amongst the tall buildings. As we're waiting for the parade to start, and the parade is about to start now, there was a guy that came up to us, a guy who I guess was trying to evangelize, proselytize, and things of that nature. And he had these brochures, and he handed me one, and instead of like wasting the brochure, wasting his money or whatever, I just kind of politely told him like, hey, I cannot accept this. I'm an atheist. And instead of just respecting the fact that I'm an atheist, or respecting the fact that that I'm not really interested in the brochure, he proceeded to debate me. Now, what was really, really fucked up about this whole incident was that he's standing there in front of my kids, and the parade is starting, and he's debating with me or whatever about, whether or not, Yahweh exists. He's debating with me on whether or not, Jesus is, the son of Yahweh, and, things of that nature. And I'm trying to get him to get the hell out, and I'm trying to be, like I said, I'm not really a confrontational person for the most part. I don't like to be rude to anybody, anything like that. So I'm trying to hey, please just get out, But, he eventually leaves, but, not after standing in front of me and my children or whatever for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever, while the parade is starting. There was another incident kind of similar to it where I was working on this job, and I had a lot of coworkers. I had one of those cubicle jobs And there was like maybe like hundreds of people, whatever, in my quadrant. My neighbors would come by and see the stuff that I'm reading on my desk. Now, at this time, I wasn't even an atheist. I was a deist at that time. I subscribed to a non-theistic God concept. And what happens is there was this girl who, quite frankly, we used to, she used to drop me off every now and then or something like that, when I didn't have my car running. And, we smoke together, stuff like that, And what happens is, for whatever reason, she felt compelled to have her brother give me a call from prison to basically minister to me about, um, about why I should be a Christian. Now this is dinner time. I'm like, it's just, at this time it's just me and my wife, and we're about to have dinner. He calls me up and he argues with me about Chris. I don't know this guy from a can of paint. Plus he's calling me from prison. You know, so it's like, wow, why is it, that people feel like you have to believe the way that they believe, So this is what is indicative about Christianity in particular, and the cult of Yahweh, if you will, is that they intrude themselves on everything, and they don't see it. They don't see their intrusion. They don't see the fact that some of the laws that they try to pass or whatever, or some of the social contracts that they try to have are based upon their religion or whatever, and their holy books, things like that. They don't understand that when they try to force people to say under God in a pledge of allegiance, or try to sneak the Lord's Prayer in a graduation ceremony or something like that at a public school, or when they, what am I trying to say? When they basically tried to change classroom curriculum, in the case of sciences and stuff like that, to basically mirror their mythology. They don't understand the intrusion that their religion have upon other people. So yeah, us as atheists or whatever, we are going to talk about your deity. We're going to talk about your religion. We're going to talk about, yourselves, because we're trying to counteract this intrusion, by your religion upon the rest of us who may not agree. This doesn't even have anything to do with just atheists or whatever. We could be talking about agnostics. We could be talking about other non-theists. We could be talking about other types of theists. We could be talking about Buddhists or Muslims or Taoists or Hindus or something like that. Skis. Whatever. No, Sikhs. Sorry. We could be talking about all of those people, whatever, and none of you guys care, So yeah, there is a massive intrusion on the personal lives of others by those, whatever, who subscribe to what I like to call the cult of Yahweh. So that is the reason why we talk about, Yahweh. It has nothing to do with whether or not we secretly believe in Yahweh or not, because that's not entirely the case. That's not the case at all. We don't secretly believe in Yahweh. I don't think that Yahweh is no more real than the Grinch that stole Christmas. I don't think that Yahweh is no more real than, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in The Terminator. is to me is just another like mythical, fantastical being or whatever that was popped up out of the heads of human beings. So yeah, so that is the reason why we talk about Yahweh. The reason why we bring him up is basically to counteract the intrusion of religious people. When they bring Yahweh and their beliefs or whatever into our space. So once again, this is Mario Stanton. Everybody out there, be peace.